Hi there folks, welcome to Dunsy's Guitar Stuff and welcome to another guitar surgery. I'm going to fix a couple of these axes up. So let's see what we have today. Let's zoom in here. So here we have not one but two Telecasters, two one pickup Telecasters. One with silver hardware, one with black hardware. Let's zoom up to the business end. Oh, maybe this is a clue. This graphic and this one, that's pretty crazy, pretty scary stuff. Skull and crossbones. Now that fretboard, I'm no fretboard expert, but that looks like it needs oiled. Get to the top and we have Squier Telecaster. Squier Telecaster. Now if we zoom in to the very end, we'll see Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne. Now you can see here a bit of a disaster that happened some time back in a video, but I prefer not to revisit that. You know, brings back bad memories, post-traumatic stress disorder. But my wife's still speaking to me, so you know, it's not all good. So yeah, simplicity, just one pickup in each of these. Now this one, I'll call this a Mark 1, the difference being that this has just a normal coloured headstock and this inlay, whereas I call this the Mark 2, which is a black headstock and all black hardware, scary skull and crossbones. This is all original. This has the original pickup in and the original control switch. Now what this does, it's just the one pickup, but on the bridge position it's just the coil that's closest to the bridge. In the middle it's the full humbucker, and in the front it's just the coil closest to the neck. So you get three sounds for the price of one. Now this one, which I bought in the summer, the Mark II, pickup's been replaced with a Seymour Duncan distortion, I think that is, and they've taken the three-way switch out and it's just the volume control, or as Eddie Van Halen would say, just the tone, because it gives you tone. Now there's a reflection of my kitchen tiles here. This isn't a Harley Quinn guitar, this is a black guitar. So yes, first thing we need to do is I need to take this out. Now the story behind these guitars is that, I mean, I have a lot of Les Pauls and more historic, probably more valuable guitars than two Indonesian made Avril Lavigne Telecasters. But a lot of the gigs that I do with Twisted Nerve involve, we rarely play in the UK, so most of our gigs are across Europe, even been to America as well. And I don't like taking fixed neck guitars on planes, and we fly cheap. I mean, we're not an expensive band, we fly budget airlines, so it tends to be quite expensive to take huge flight cases. So what I do is, and here's a top tip, I take the neck off the Telecaster and believe it or not, I put the body in my carry-on luggage, which is just big enough to fit a Telecaster body in, and I carry the neck onto the plane, carry it on through customs. And I mean, you get some funny looks as you show up and your case gets x-rayed, and then in the same tub there's a guitar neck, and I get stopped all the time and people saying, "Is that a guitar?" And I think, well yeah, it looks a lot like a guitar. It's a guitar, yeah. And then questions as to why you're carrying it in two pieces. But the bottom line is, it's safe. I mean, it's with me at all times. It's not getting thrown in the hold by some baggage handler who's got a hangover and had a bit of a bad day. So I have the body in the case, which is always above me, and the neck in my hand. I don't keep it in my hand for the whole flight. Put it on the floor under my feet, have a few beers to relax on the flight to wherever we're going. So yeah, the first thing I need to do with the Mark II, the one with all the black hardware, is I used this in Poland recently. We were headlining a Polish goth festival on Friday night, and there was some sort of feedback issue, and but a grounding issue. Luckily, the promoter had provided a Les Paul, one of his Les Pauls, which was very nice Les Paul. So I used that, and I broke a string on the last song, and I only used the Telecaster for the last song. So I need to have a look at it. Need to work out what's going on with the old Seymour Duncan distortion. So yes, let's have a look. So let's probably the first thing to check is see what's going on in the control cavity. Now I guess it's a funny thing. People are saying a middle-aged guy with two Avril Lavigne Telecasters. What's going on? Two things. One, the ease of use of taking these on flights. I mean, I've got another Telecaster. I've got a Japanese Squier Telecaster from the early 80s or the mid 80s, an E series Telecaster, which is a nice guitar. But I prefer taking these for just because they're so simple. I mean, there's so few things to go wrong. This only has one pickup, so you know there's less to go wrong. It only has a volume control. So simplicity and easy to take on a plane. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I do like the Canadian punk princess. I was on holiday in America in the early 2000s when Skater Boy came out, and that's a great tune. And I came back to work after being in America for a few weeks, and was telling people, oh, I heard this great tune when I was in America, Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy, and I don't think her records were out here at that point, so people were going, Avril Lavigne, sounds like a lot of shit. But I was proved right, because about 6 months later, when Avril Lavigne released her records in the UK, people were like, holy shit man, Dunsy, you were right, Avril Lavigne, she's great. I think that's what they were saying anyway. So Seymour Duncan 10X44. Now I don't see anything I don't see anything immediately obvious what's wrong here, so I'm presuming that it might be okay, and it was just a bad earthing problem on stage in Poland. The thing about these gigs that we do is I don't take an amp much. If I do take an amp, I've got a Blue Guitar Amp 1, which is a really good amp. I might use it today when I'm demoing this. So you're kind of at the mercy of whatever's available for backline. And at the Polish gig, now after the Polish gig was in a place called Wrocław, which was an absolutely beautiful town. It was like a university town, really picturesque, really beautiful. The weather was really nice as well. Had such a great time. But anyway, the back line there was I normally ask for a Marshall, like a JCM 800, but it was, if I remember correctly, it was an Ibanez amp head, a three channel amp head, and the band who went on before us, he had said there seemed to be a problem with the amp head, and I wasn't really paying attention, but what he said to me was only one channel works. So of course there's no sound check at these things. Like it's a festival, we were playing on Friday, we were like the last band on, so there'd been 9 bands on before us, and you don't get time for sound check. You get a line check for about 3 minutes before you start playing. So I plug into the Ibanez amp head, which looked like a reasonably nice amp head, a valve amp head, and I would normally play through the mid channel. I don't go particularly metal, or I don't go clean. That would just be crazy. So I go in for the crunch sound, and I try every button on the front of the amp, and the only channel that seemed to work was the clean channel, and I was like, gigs off. I can't play through a clean channel. People will hear my mistakes. This will be terrible. But I had a tiny little three pedal, a Donner pedal Now that's not like a Donner Kebab. A Donner pedal, which I got off Amazon for about £46 or something, and it has delay, overdrive and chorus. Now if you play in a goth band, which Twisted Nerve are a goth post-punk band, all you need is delay and chorus, maybe a bit of flanger if you want. I mean, if you're being a bit fancy, a bit of flanger. In fact, I took a flanger as well, so I sound like I'm making this up, but it's all true. So anyway, so what I had to do was, I would normally use the overdrive part of this pedal for solos, for the boost for solos. So what I had to do was I had to use that as my main sound, and I have to say it sounded fantastic. I'll post a little bit of a video, and it sounded great. But when it came to solos, there was no boost, but I managed to get through that difficult time, and it sounded okay. So as I'm blabbering on, let's get on with the job in hand. I need to oil the fretboard on this and get new strings on it. Now, as I say, I got this in the summer. I actually bought it, I was in the States, and I was looking on eBay. I was sitting on my friend's couch in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I saw this guitar, and it was quite cheap, and I was like, oh, I need to get that, because I mean I had one, and I thought, well, if you've got one you might as well get a spare one. So I bid on it, and I won. So I was in America, and I thought, shit, how am I going to get that delivered? So I sent a message to the seller and said, look, I've paid for the guitar, but I'm actually in America, I won't be back for another 2 weeks. So if you hold off sending it, I'll get it when I'm back home. I never heard back from the guy for about 4 days, until I got a tracking number, and he posted the bloody guitar, and I was on another continent. I mean, it wasn't even I was in another country, I was in another continent. I was bloody 4,000 miles away. So I had to get in touch, I had to text my neighbour, who probably wasn't going to be in when the parcel got delivered, but I had his number, so I had to text him to go and speak to my other neighbour, a retired old lady across the road, who I knew would be in to pick the guitar up. And it was like, this is just a nightmare. And worst of all, I had to confess to my wife. I thought, I bought another guitar, and I had to do that because I didn't have my neighbour's number. I had to ask her for the number to text my neighbour, and she says, why do you need his number? And I was like, oh, bought another bloody guitar. But we got through that, you know, we're okay now. But all joking aside, my wife doesn't care. I've got loads of guitars, she's got loads of shoes. That's what happens. Now you'll notice on the back of this, there's some electrical tape. Now that's not to solve any grounding issues. That's to solve my bad eyesight issues. Now on stage, I try to play without glasses on. I don't know if you've noticed in my videos, but I wear glasses quite a lot. I try not to wear glasses on stage, but the problem with these guitars is there's no position markers. I mean, there's dots here, but with my terrible eyesight, I can't bloody see them. So what I've done is I've discreetly placed electrical tape at the important frets, the ones with the dots. So I know that if I'm doing a 12-bar blues in A, I should be playing here. Although it would be very rarely that I would play 12-bar blues in a post-punk goth band. So I've got them on this, and I've got them on this one as well. So I'm safe. Whichever guitar I take, I can work out what fret I'm playing on. Whether I'm hitting the right note is another matter, but that's not because I don't know what fret it is. So yeah. So we'll get some oil on this fretboard. It looks dry. It looks as dehydrated as I probably feel after too many beers at a Polish festival, because I did feel a bit under the weather after the gig. But you know, that's all part and parcel of rock and roll. I'm sure Keith Richards over the years has felt a bit rough after the odd gig, and never hear him complaining. Although I always think, you know, when you work a day job, you know, a lot of the time you wake up in the morning and you think, you know, I can see this far enough today. You know, I just can't face this today. I often wonder, like, I wonder if Keith Richards ever wakes up in the morning. Just a screwdriver falling there. I often wonder if Keith Richards wakes up in the morning and he looks at his to-do list and it's got to do, fly to Paris, play gig. And I wonder if he ever thinks, you know what, I really can't be bothered today. And like at my work, he would just phone in sick. You know, he would phone in and say, "Hi Mick, it's Keith. I'm not feeling well today. I'm just I'm not going to bother. I'll be back on Wednesday. I should be feeling better by Wednesday." I often wonder if that happens. But I would guess that when X 100,000 people have bought tickets to come and see you, that you can't really get away with that. I mean, where I work, if I'm not in for a day, you know, the great wheels of industry still continue. You know, Scotland still gets on, even if I'm not at work. If I'm dicking around in the house, oiling fretboards rather than going to work, I'm sure everything's fine. So that's that oiled. And what I'll do is I'll clean it up, polish it up, because I'm going to be videoing it and you've got to have a nice clean guitar in your video. Get strings on, get it in tune. I'll record some stuff. Now, I think I was telling a story a bit back, but when this got posted during the summer, what the guy did was, I can't believe it, he put it in a package, just but a cardboard. It wasn't even a cardboard box, it was cardboard folded round, and he didn't put any protection on the bottom. And when I picked the parcel up from my neighbour, I could see that there was a hole in the bottom of the packaging that looked exactly the same shape as a strap button, and the courier company had dropped it on its end and it had knocked this strap button all the way into the body. I mean, this was flush with the body, and as well as that, I don't know if you can catch this, but it's cracked to finish. There was so much pressure knocking this in, it's bloody, it's huge. I can actually feel the crack there. I can feel the crack. I need to fill my crack in, and it's cracked on the front as well. I mean, I got this for a good price, I can't complain at that, but I doubt if I'd get a good price when I go to sell it, because I'll have to say, well, you know, it's a nice guitar, it's got a Seymour Duncan pickup, sounds great, plays great and stuff like that, but the end pin was knocked right into the body and I've had to fill that in and put the strap pin back in, and oh, and by the way, the finish on the body's all cracked. No. But these difficult things are sent to testers. Worst things happen at sea. It's your turn in the barrel on the Friday. So, yes. Enough yabbering. I'll get strings on this, and I'll get strings on the other one, and it'll be I'll be playing dueling guitars with my two Avril Lavigne signature Telecasters, and we'll see how that works out. Okay, so check back in a bit. So there you have it, folks. Another exciting video. This time, not one, but two Avril Lavigne Telecasters, which are great value guitars. I mean, I see them going for about £400, which for an Indonesian made Squier Telecaster seems quite expensive. You can get them cheaper than that, I mean £250, £300. I would definitely recommend picking one up because they're great playing guitars, great neck on them, tuners are decent. The stock pickup is actually pretty good. I prefer the Duncan that's in the Mark II one, which I may try and wire up. I'm not sure if it's a 4-wire pickup. If it is, I may try and wire it up so that it's got the same 3 positions as the Mark 1. But yeah, thanks as ever for tuning in. Cheers for now.